How are you doing? What are you talking about? Thank you.
I'm good, just chatting. I'm talking about history here. My name is Italy.
My name is Oleg. Well, we can talk about history too.
Oleg, I'm talking about history. If someone is really interested in history, then the conversation will be good.
Are you interested in history? You're from Ukraine, right? Are you here by yourself?
I'm from Ukraine, Kiev region, Bielitz Serkva.
Bilet Serpa, as we say in Brazilian. I see. Bilet Serpa, that's right. Well, yeah, I'm interested in history. Well, I used to live in Kiev. Now I live in Canada. Just to make it clearer. I got it, yeah. I'm really talking about history. No, well, I'd be happy to. I'm just curious how people, especially people our age, you and I aren't that far apart in age, as far as I can tell, right? So I'm just interested in people's views on history, because up until the 2000s, it seemed like we used to have the same views on history, but now our perspectives have changed. That's why I'm interested in what your views on history are.
Sergey, let's get right to it. I'm a blogger.
Oleg.
I am not a blogger, and I want to make it abundantly clear that I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in engaging in such activities. The concept of maintaining a blog, sharing personal thoughts, or participating in the blogging community simply does not align with my inclinations. My focus lies elsewhere, and I find myself completely disengaged from the world of blogging and its associated endeavors. Understand when people read something.
I see. Are you a professional historian? I'm a history teacher.
That's a bit different. That's not a professional historian. A professional historian writes monographs. I don't write them.
Well, a teacher can write monographs too. They can, but
I don't write them. I write textbooks for schools.
let's put it this way. In engineering, there are research engineers, and there are engineers who work in operations. I'm an operations guy. Okay, I get it. All right, so I have. Then my next question for you is this particular point. Where did Vladimir the Baptizer come from when he arrived in Kiev? Where did he come from?
From your perspective as a historian, how would you characterize this individual? It's important to note that he was essentially a recent arrival, having come from Novgorod. This status as a newcomer from a different region would have undoubtedly shaped his experiences and interactions within his new environment, potentially influencing his political standing, social acceptance, and overall trajectory. A historian would likely analyze the implications of his origins, considering how his background in Novgorod might have contrasted with the local customs or power structures, thereby providing a more nuanced understanding of his role and impact during that historical period. A newcomer? He was the Prince of Kiev because his father was the Prince of Kiev.
No, he took the throne. He ascended to the throne after his father, right? Yes, I'm not denying that.
Yes.
He took the throne, but he came from Novgorod. Well,
We're talking about the specific moment. Yes, he came from Novgorod, but he was sent to Novgorod from Kiev as the center. So, well, I answered your question. Any more questions?
no, you answered absolutely correctly, because a lot of people don't know about this issue. They think that he just appeared in Kiev and was always there.
Well, that's truly wonderful. But since when exactly has that been the case? It has been so since the time of Oleg, a pivotal figure in early Rus history. Indeed, since Oleg's time, Princess Olga demonstrating her astute political prowess and firm resolve, appointed her very own trusted governors in the city of Khorasan. This significant action took place specifically after the intense and tragic conflict with Prince Mali, a confrontation that had profound implications. Furthermore, extending her influence and administrative reach, she also strategically appointed her own representatives in the important northern city of Novgorod, solidifying her authority and control across these key territories.
Governors, and since then, Oleg, maybe she put someone on the throne, not just local officials?
There was no throne, not in any Novgorod. There wasn't one in Novgorod. The throne was only in Kiev. That's the whole problem.
Ah, I didn't quite figure that out. That's what you were getting at.
The problems. Let me feed a little.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
I don't know, somehow I just can't believe it. I need to reread it.
Go ahead. Here. That's why I asked you to read it, after all. Because when someone is dealing with all these myths, it's really hard to debunk them.
If I ask you to put together the words Rus and Ukraine, you won't be able.
Of course not.
And you won't be able to debunk it either.
I can't put it together, but I can explain.
Why, yes. Well, explaining is one thing, it's just. But you can't put it together. It's like with the word.
Happiness can't be made from the letters NASS.
Oh, my saying too. I completely agree with you.
But Rus is the territory of modern Ukraine. It doesn't add up.
Yes, I agree. Territory modern. And Rus was bigger than Ukraine.
No. Starting, well, look, starting from Rybakov, even starting from Tikhomorov. These are Soviet scholars who studied the problems of Rus. Starting from Tikhomorov, Rybakov, and up to the contemporary historian Danilevsky. There is the concept of Chronicle Rus, that is, in the Chronicles, as Rus, the chronicler describes it. And there is the concept of Rus in the broad sense of the word, as a state over whose territory Kiev's influence extended. So, according to the Chronicles, Rus is the present-day territory of northern Ukraine. That's the Kiev region, Chernihiv region, and Pereyaslav region. There is a classic work by Boris Rybakov. He was a doctor of sciences, director of the Institute of Archaeology in Soviet times. He was, so to speak, a hero of socialist labor, and so on. He has a classic work, Rus in the narrow sense of the word according to the Chronicles, and in the broad sense. There's even a map in there. How Rus is defined by the Chronicles, it's the territory of modern Ukraine. Period. Although, of course, there was no Ukraine back then.
Yes, of course, there wasn't. Are you aware of the existence of the Vespucci map? Dated 1543.
I'm aware of the existence of a huge number of maps, and that's where your question comes from.
I'm not talking about the Poles, who aren't really Poles. I've answered that.
Question for you. There are a huge number of maps with completely different
Information. And if you take,
from dozens, hundreds, again, if you take. Out of tens, if not hundreds of cards, only one, and you try to build your conclusion on this basis, your conclusion will not be historically correct. Because the maximum number of sources, the maximum number of cards are taken.
even biased ones.
Once again,
But the Chronicle,
profitably fattened. You understand about.
biased.
I'll go. Let me hear your noisy engagement.
Bias is when one of the historians, contemporaries, well, at that time, I mean, writes on someone's order. Well, for example, the Polish king. Just as an example,
You have no idea about history's development.
arguing with you is pointless because you're smarter than I am. I even admit it. So I'm not trying to argue. I'm putting forward a thesis, which you are disputing, and you're doing it professionally. I'm listening to you.
However, it is crucial to understand that we are not, in any way, asserting or claiming to be engaged in a formal, rigorous, or even informal scientific debate here, primarily because I, as an individual speaking at this moment, do not possess the credentials, the official capacity, or the designated authority to serve as a legitimate, recognized, or authorized representative of the broader scientific community, its established methodologies, its collective findings, or its widely accepted principles. Therefore, any discussion or exchange of ideas presented should not be misconstrued as a scientific discourse or an official scientific deliberation, but rather as a personal perspective or an informal conversation that is entirely separate from the structured and evidence-based processes inherent to scientific inquiry and representation. My role here is not to present scientific consensus or to defend scientific theories, but simply to express my own thoughts and observations, which are distinct from the rigorous standards and collective authority of scientific representation.
Not even standing next to you, really.
That's why I'm trying to explain the basics to you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I asked you a question, you answered. I found it interesting.
Let's keep going in the same spirit.
Understood. Well, I don't have any questions because everything, as you say, you have to start from the 19th century.
You need to look at modern works. You see, even the 19th century is just the historian's perspective of the 19th century. History as a science is evolving. New sources are emerging, and, secondly, there are new interpretations of these sources.
So, you see, this is truly great, absolutely wonderful, and remarkably impressive. It's a magnificent achievement, something truly exceptional and outstanding.
That's the topic of conversation. Which historian have you read, and which thesis do you disagree with? And we'll try to figure it out.
Yes,
Well, actually, to be perfectly honest, you haven't really read anyone at all. Yes, Jesus Christ. Am I truly arguing or perhaps engaging in some kind of heated debate or discussion about this particular matter?
I never set out to read historians, but when you say,
That there are some historians in Ukraine, you haven't bothered to read a single one. That's the whole problem. The biggest problem is that you're stuck.
a quarter,
Of a century. You're stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck. You'll unfreeze in a moment. All right, let's go.
so about that, it's all very simple. You can do the math, or you can just watch a Ukrainian show
Right.
and watch it in pure Ukrainian.
Oh, the nonsense they spout there. Wonderful. Which show did you watch? Who was the host? And what nonsense did you hear? And we'll talk about it.
We can start from the end about the nonsense I heard there.
No, we should start from the beginning. You probably don't remember who you heard that nonsense from, right?
No, of course not. I didn't hear it once. I've heard it times.
Great. So what did you hear?
I'm telling you, apparently Jesus Christ was a Galatian.
That's heresy, such heresy. Personally, I've never heard it anywhere except on Russian TV channels.
I've heard it in Ukrainian, okay. Just take my word for it. Let's move on. There was a guy. I'll tell you.
The last name. It was Bibik.
The next guy in an embroidered shirt. Oh, that's right. Is he Russian?
Bibik is Ukrainian. Back in the early 2000s, he even had his own show, even on the state channel, as far as I remember, though I could be wrong, on UT1, the first Ukrainian channel. He had his own show. He's a cultural studies expert by education, but he was spouting such nonsense that, honestly, the show only lasted for a while before they took it off the air. To say that Betsik is a Ukrainian historian? No, he's not a historian. He got involved in something he shouldn't have and was spreading nonsense. Really, no one's going to deny that.
See, this is why it's nice to deal with a smart person. Because an intelligent person like you answers questions normally. Most of the majority are angry. You see, you suggested the last name, you know? I'll even write it down for the future so I don't get kicked out. But watch it.
It is forbidden. He hasn't been allowed on television for a long time now. Back in the 2000s, there was, let's say, a kind of bacchanalia on television. Anyone could get on, anything could happen. But actually, that's still the case on any TV channel today.
But baby, not just any baby. And what? RIK, I distinctly remember that moment, that specific instance, with absolute clarity and precision, as if it happened just yesterday, etched permanently into my memory.
One of the leaders of the People's Movement of Ukraine.
Desiatin, author of the work Litz's Resume. Yes, so he also died, by the way.
He died, yes.
They haven't found out who did it.
They haven't found out. No, to this day they haven't found out who. How have they not found out? The driver didn't flee the scene of the crime. It's still unclear how the driver ended up there.
Yes, but there are different aspects. But that's not related to my question. Here's my question. Recently, by the way, thanks to Chapliga, you know him, right? That guy. I've heard of him, but I haven't really paid much attention. Yeah, but he's more. Well, just out of curiosity, check out a couple of his things. Just take a look. Well, this isn't an ad, just saying. So he brought up Chernobyl, and he mentioned a few of the theses that Rook put forward back in the day. This was in 1991, the moment when Ukraine was separating. What were the main points Rook came to power with? And it was, wait,
I'll interrupt you, Oleg. When exactly did Rook come? Power, and where?
no, well, I mean, Rook isn't exactly the right word. Sorry, I misspoke. He didn't actually come to power, but riding that wave. So to speak, he tried to, and the founders were inspired. We skipped ahead. So to the theses.
Well, to the
Let's get to the theses. Yes, to the theses. There were 8 theses that Corneville talked about. There were 8 theses.
that Chapley had talked about, and you're quoting him. If you had found Corneville's actual theses, that would be a different story. But for now, you're saying that with your father.
You went along with it. I found them, read them, and it turns out there aren't 8, but more.
So,
There were more than 8. And what's most interesting is that almost none of them have been fulfilled to this day, from the perspective of the modern Ukrainian state.